remind you, and we're being told that locating him, of course, this time as well, was based on CIA intelligence. President Trump is expected to make a major announcement on Sunday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. I will repeat, he did tweet, the president, a few hours ago, saying something very big has just happened. I want to remind you now, though, about al-Baghdadi, the leader, of course, of that terrorist group, ISIS. It is believed that he was born in Samarra, Iraq in 1971. He was a Sunni Muslim from a very religious family. A biography posted on jihadist website says he earned a doctorate in Islamic studies from a university in Baghdad. It's believed he joined the Iraqi insurgency after the U.S.-led invasion in 2003. He was later captured and spent 4 years in a U.S.-run prison camp in southern Iraq until his release in 2009. Now, within a year, he became leader of al-Qaeda in Iraq, but eventually broke away to form the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. The U.S. is now offering a $25 million reward for al-Baghdadi's capture. What we do know, of course, was that this raid was based on CIA intelligence in an area where normally the United States would not even have boots on the ground, and that is highly significant. Cedric Leighton is a former deputy director of the NSA and is a CNN military analyst. He joins us now live from Washington. And I want to talk to you about that. We've got northwest Syria here, right? An area where it's conceivable that without tipping off the Russians or Turkish forces or the Syrian forces, that they would have had to get air clearance, right? Or do you believe this was more about the way the Osama bin Laden raid went in Pakistan, where you really try and tell no one?
Well, Paula, it could be both. There is, perhaps one of the parties involved, like Turkey, may have known something about this, or the Russians may have known something about it, because it is in the interest, actually, of both countries that Baghdadi be eliminated from the scene. So it is conceivable that they did it that way. But what I think is more likely, until we get more information, my hunch is that this was done without telling either country, but we'll see if that turns out to be correct. Either way, with flight clearances, it becomes a huge issue. You have to, make sure that every single piece of airspace that you're going to be transversing actually is available to you, and that there's no conflict with another side. And that's pretty tough to do in an environment like Syria, especially that part of Syria, which is right near the Turkish border.
Especially when you have, of course, the Russian Air Force right now dictating a lot of what happens in that airspace, and knowing the tension there. It's not unheard of that the United States and Russia wouldn't cooperate on something like that, but of course, extremely complicated. Dramatic details here that we're getting from our Ryan Brown at the Pentagon, saying that he had a suicide vest. I suppose you'd have to assume that he would know that the Americans were looking for him wherever he may be and would have had this kind of a plan. But really dramatic details there.
Well, absolutely, Paula. And on the suicide vest, there were intelligence reports that came out in the public domain a few years ago that al-Baghdadi actually slept with a suicide vest on his person. So this is not a surprise, based on those reports, that this actually was how he lived, in essence, carrying a suicide vest with him at all times. And if this story is true, if this part of the reporting is, it turns out to be correct, then this seems to be a true to form kind of situation where al-Baghdadi, the reports on him were accurate, and he used this suicide vest in that last instance to avoid capture.
Yeah, and we want to be clear here, right, that U.S. authorities are telling us they believe that he has been killed, but cannot know for sure until they get, of course, that DNA confirmation. Cedric, it's you know what we're going back to here, right? It's that raid on Osama bin Laden and the collective relief around the globe that Osama bin Laden had been killed. For Donald Trump, this would be quite a foreign policy moment, an epic one, quite frankly, if this turns out to be true.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And, just like at the time, President Obama, at the time of the Osama bin Laden raid, President Obama did reap a lot of benefits from that in a political sense. And I think it probably helped assure his reelection. The other thing that, Donald Trump has to look forward to is certainly a bounce in that sense, in terms of his foreign policy credentials or chops. In this case, of course, the people that really did the work are the intelligence agencies and the military raiders that actually performed this mission. So